I'm going to say David.
Welcome to LifeBlood. This is George G, and the time is right. Welcome to today's guest, strong and powerful Kim Daly. Kim, are you ready to do this?
I am ready, George, and this is your daily double.
Amazing. Yes, you are back on the LifeBlood podcast. Welcome back, Kim.
It is my sincere pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
Super excited to have you back. Kim is a top performing franchise consultant. She's a podcaster, an author, a thought leader, and she is the host of the Kim Daly YouTube channel. Kim, tell us a little bit about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Okay, George. So I'm a franchise consultant. I love what I do because I get to help people change their life every day. People are looking for freedom. That's, I always tell people I'm not kind of quote selling franchising, I'm selling freedom, right? The franchise is just the path to the freedom. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I am incredibly blessed. I help a lot of people change their life every year. Outside of work, I'm a mom. I have two teenage boys, so that's interesting. And I have two golden doodles. We live here at the beach in southern New Hampshire. That's a little about Kim Daly.
Love it. I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old boy, so I'm going to have to get your cliff notes or the entire manuscript.
Okay, the number one thing I'm going to tell you when they're like 15 and 16, which mine are, freshman and sophomore in high school, there's absolutely no talking in the morning. My kids are like, why are you so happy in the morning, mom? Shut up.
That's so funny. No talking. Lights out in the evenings,
No,
sound out in the mornings. I like it. All right, fair
they
enough.
are
That's
grumpy in the morning.
something to look forward to right there. All right, so here we find ourselves coming out of pandemic and now going into recession by different metrics. Maybe we're there, maybe we'll be there. Who knows? How are you thinking about franchising?
So, you know what, George? Here's the best news ever. In good times and in bad times, the franchise industry grows. So people's motivations for investing will change, right? If the economy's great, people are building wealth, they want more of the American dream, they're buying franchises. If if the economy is tight or tough and people fear losing jobs, there's instability, they want to pull their money out of the stock market, they're looking for cash flowing assets, people turn to franchising. So my business really grows no matter what. I think that coaching people in a recession is different than coaching people in a stronger economic time. There's perhaps more fear, if you will, of, is this the right time? Is this the right thing? But, look, I've been doing this for 20 years. I had my first standout breakout year as a franchise consultant in the last recession in 2008, 2009. So I feel confident that I can help somebody if they come to me with a dream, even just to explore. That's really all I say. Don't come here trying to say, I'm definitely investing. Just come to explore. Saying yes will be the natural um, thing to do when you've asked enough questions and you're satisfied with enough of the answers.
I appreciate that. I think that that's good advice right there. What does that exploration process look like?
So exploring a franchise takes about, through my process, takes about 1 to 2 months. It involves me really getting up close and personal with you. Like I want to know you personally, professionally, and financially. And I'm really, really focused on the vision of your future. So the way that I look at the franchise, as I said, it's you're investing in freedom, right? You're setting yourself up for some future outcome of personal, usually personal financial freedom. So I really want to know, like, where do you aspire to get to? Like, what is that vision in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? And how did this business play a role? Are you a multifamily investor with, kind of passive investment over here, and you're looking for, something meaningful to do with a few hours of your week? Or are you looking to dive in full time and then eventually be semi absent? So we're talking about sort of quality of life goals and the skill sets that owners bring, and again, where they want to end up. And then my job is to bring them the most efficient vehicles for that journey, right? That will take them from where they are today to where they want to end up. So the process is about 1 to 2 months. It's a lot of coaching on mindset, and I'm writing a book right now, and I wrote in the book, I was rereading it last night, and I wrote in the book that, like, I really look at exploring a franchise as it's like a battlefield in a person's mind. And I'm like the war general, right? Who's traversed this battlefield many, many times. So I know where every landmine is. And if I'm successful with somebody, my job is to guide them around the landmines, like like not getting your spouse involved soon enough, right? Because it's never going anywhere if your spouse isn't on board, or making assumptions about, well, that's not going to work in my market, without asking the questions to the people that really can help you understand whether that is or is not true, right? Or, hey, I'm not qualified to own that franchise, I couldn't be successful. There's so many pitfalls, there's so many assumptions, preconceived notions. I'll classify it all as like head trash that people have. And really, when you look at how many people explore franchising in a year versus how many people that actually say yes, it's staggering how many walk away. And this is, in fact, why I have a business, to help you know what you need to know, asking the right questions, talking to the right people, and literally just bringing confidence to your investigation, so that when you say that answer, yes or no, you're confident, and it's not going to be based on preconceived notions that you didn't thoroughly, like, kind of do due diligence on before you just made them true.
Are we talking like 10%, 1% of people that go through the exploration process that end up buying?
Oh, so my statistics are not that. I don't know if I want to say it a lot. People will be like, "Oh, if I call her, then I'm definitely buying a franchise." I'm very good at, like, helping people, move around those objections. But there's a book out there called Street Smart Franchising, and one of the chapters is called The One versus the 99. And I don't know where Joe Matthews, the author, got that statistic, but he says that out of 100 people, 99 won't and one will. Now, again, that's not that. If I had that business, George, I would not be here 20 years into it.
Sure.
But I do think that there's probably truth in those kind of numbers, because even just trying to get through a franchise disclosure document, right? This is the legally binding document, and I have a whole coaching call dedicated on how to use it, but more importantly, George, how not to use it, right? Because people go to that FDD early and it can literally blow up everything, and it's so unnecessary, right? And so just helping people know when to turn to the FDD and what to turn, um, when to turn to it and why to turn to it, how to use it, how not to use it. It's just that alone is one of the most critical things that I do. But there's so many other things. Funding, that's a black hole, right? People left on their own. I mean, you can have the greatest dream, but if you can't figure out how to fund it in a way that makes you not feel cash poor, or to be able to even afford it, then that's another place you're going to walk away. So I have the answers to all of these questions and so many more.
Yeah. Well, I see immense value in having a process like you've laid out. If you had said, "Oh, I'll let you know within 3 days if it's right for you," I'd be like, "Wow, that doesn't seem like enough time." And how are you really gonna help me with my selection process, and then on the other end, make sure that the franchise thinks that I am right for them. So I feel like it needs to be a partnership or a marriage, for lack of better terms.
Oh, 100%. And actually, I mean, that's the analogy that I use. This is absolutely a courtship leading to a marriage. And you're not just working with me during that 1 to 2 months. Like you just said, George, the franchisors are very interested in getting to know you, because this is their business to award, right? Franchises aren't sold, they're awarded. The good
Mhm.
ones are, anyway. So the franchisor is going to take you through an investigation of their toolbox, their marketing, why they do what they do, how they compete in their market, how many customers you need to build a positively cash flowing business. They want to teach you about their business, right? You don't have to go make this up on your own, right? That's entrepreneurship. Right? So this is all about finding people that you believe in and that you buy into their vision. And ultimately, when you say yes to a franchise, you're saying yes to a relationship. That's the difference between entrepreneurship and franchising, right? Out there on your own as an entrepreneur, you're making it up, you're all alone, you're recreating everything. Here, we're not inventing anything. We're finding people who've already invented it and proven it out, and we're paying them a fee to have access to that and have access to them as our coaches, our mentors, our guides. So that process, that 1 to 2 month process, I'm guiding your mindset, but the franchisors are teaching you about the actual business that you're looking at. And then after you get to know the franchisor, you get to go meet the crazy family of franchisees. So before you get married, it's important to know like what other people are in this family, and what were their backgrounds, and are they happy, right? Because if the people who already said yes aren't happy, why do you want to go do it, right? That's one of the biggest red flags. So we get to go what we call validate out in the real world with the people who've already said yes to this investment. And it's this collection of like getting to know the franchisor and then validating with the franchisees and finding alignment with your goals and your vision and the person that you are, and aligning that with the people you're meeting and saying, I sound just like these people, or I want to sound just like these people who built $1 million business in their first 12 months. So it's finding that alignment that really, that's when people say, yes, I want to be part of a franchise. Yeah.
I love it. That makes a ton of sense. Fran- franchises are not sold, they are awarded. That if I were to get into franchising, I would want to work with a franchisor that felt like they were awarding franchises than just trying to get them out the door and get butts in the seats.
Yeah, exactly. Because look, the number one reason that franchisees fail, and there's so many reasons, right? Why do franchises fail? But when we look at it from the franchisee perspective, that would be you, the person signing the franchise agreement. The reason that franchisees fail is often because they're not following the franchisor's lead. So during this mutual evaluation process, franchisors are watching a candidate's activities, their actions. Are they making the calls that are being set up for them? And are they participating, acting interested? And are you demonstrating that you're sincere, you're involved, you're confident, and that you can ask a question in a social setting? And number one, are you following their lead? Because very often, if you're not willing to follow their lead during the investigation, you're not going to be a good franchise owner. In fact, I'm actually working with a candidate right now, and I've basically written him off because he asked me for help. I gave him some great options. I get him in touch with the franchisors, and then he goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to go do my own research." And I'm like, well, that's not really how the process works best. Like, you could do whatever you want. Like, my advice is free. You don't pay me for it, but there's a reason you came to me, and there's a reason I'm successful, right? No matter what I said to the guy, he was like, I'm doing it my way. So I told the franchisor, this is where he's sort of at. And they were like, okay, well, we know, Kim, that guy's not going to buy a franchise. So we'll send him some information. We'll set up a call and we'll see if he shows up, but we're not going to really put all that kind of time and commitment into him. So, I mean, I even told him that's what the franchisor said. And even when I told him that, it still didn't like wake him up, you know? So he's out there, he's gone on way longer than 2 months. And in my experience, life just moves on, right? That you can't explore and think about a bit. You can't think about changing your life for 6 months. Either you're doing it or you're not doing it, right? It's
Mm,
like going to the gym, right? We're in October. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna wait till January. No, if you really desire to change your body, you would join the gym today, right? Don't kid yourself that you're gonna do something in 3 months, right? So there's no like rush to get to the end. But on the flip side of that, if you're here and you're motivated, it's like, yeah, we're doing this not to just kick tires. We're doing this to say yes or no. And no is a perfectly acceptable answer, right? We just want decision makers. So, and if you're not willing to follow the franchisor's lead during the investigation process, you might not even be awarded the opportunity to move forward. People are shocked when they are like, I didn't know that they get to discovery day and maybe they're not awarded and they call me, and it's a sad day for all of us because we've probably all put a lot in. But on the flip side, I tell people, look, take it as a learning experience. This is one franchisor. There are others out there. If you're ready to go again, we'll take the learning curve and we'll find the right franchisor for you. But if they didn't feel like you were going to be a good fit, perhaps they just saved you both a lot of money and a lot of heartache, you know?
Yeah, I think that that's probably true. So it sounds like it's possible to be too entrepreneurial to be a successful franchisee.
Oh, 100%. But on the flip side of that, let me say this, George. So I broke free from working for somebody else when I was 25. My dad, I was telling you before we recorded, I'm a total daddy's girl, right? So I went to work right out of college for a franchise consulting company, not the one I'm part of today, but that was my kind of like foray into franchising. I actually answered a classified ad in a newspaper, and I was on my way to medical school. Like I didn't, it's not like you wake up and go, oh yeah, I want to get into franchising. Franchising just sort of like finds us at different points in our life. So I was very blessed to find franchising early. But anyway, I worked for that company for 3 years. But I remember like the first week of being in like my first out of college job, like, your first 9 to 5 job, and going home to my dad and being like, oh my God, you've done this for how many years?
It's awful.
Chained dog. I like to work out, and I like to like wake up and go to the gym when I'm like kind of midday. I'm not an early morning exerciser or a late, and the fact that like somebody, I had to have like FaceTime, in the office, and people, I had to be in my cube a certain, I'm like, this is like, so I wasn't having it. Like the second that I could figure out how to get out of there, I was out, and I've never looked back. I when I was 40 years old, I remember like, telling somebody, hey, I'm completely unemployable. And my dad overheard me and he's like, Kimberly, you've been unemployable since you were 2 years old. Like, you've always been the boss of you. Like, no one was ever going to tell you what to do. So, but my tangent, I forgot even what I was talking about.
Just
What
talking
was
about
the
how it's
original?
possible to be too entrepreneurial.
Oh, yeah. So where I was going with that is, so like I love like controlling my own destiny and making things up for me. But the whole point is that there are different franchises for every personality. And that's part of what I do for a candidate as well, because if you are someone like me, you will suffocate in some franchises where every I is dotted and every T is crossed. Like, and not to pick on my friends at Supercuts, it's an amazing opportunity for an engineer, for a super conservative investor who really finds like safety from every I being dotted and every T being crossed. But I'm not. I'm more adventurous. I'm willing to like throw it all to the wind and risk it because I trust in myself, I guess. And I would die. I would die, right? But the business that I'm in is a franchise. So there's a franchise out there for every personality type. You don't have to be boxed in. I'm no one told me as a consultant to get on a podcast and go talk to people or go host live events, which I've done for all these years. They just said you got to create a way to people to want to work with you. And so I got to like use my own creativity and my own personality to figure out how best to do that for me. But there's other franchises where they're like, nope, this is our marketing plan. And right. So there's a franchise culture and a structure that's right for everybody. Now, if you're out there looking at a franchise on your own, you probably really won't be able to figure that out until after you've said yes. And then it's too late, you know. But since I do this and these are my relationships, right? Like the people that I work with, and most of these franchisors I've worked with for 20 years, and so I know the culture. I know what companies, if you have Christian values, I know what companies are really built on Christian values. I know what companies are, if you're into like health and fitness and you want people that are like not just like say they're in health, but they're like built by people that were like bodybuilt. Like I know the back end structure of all these companies. So it's an advantage to work with someone like me just to kind of cut through all of that and bring you to those opportunities. Because the perfect match for a franchise, George, it's not like, oh, Kim loves to work out, she's got to be in the gym. Like that could be an opportunity, but it's really getting to the core of like, what is it about a gym environment that Kim loves? She loves being in a positive environment. I love like where people are bettering themselves. I love like meeting people and being social. So any business that has those type of characteristics, really, I would be happy owning, right? It doesn't have to be. And so, left on our own, I think we choose things that we know something about, or maybe that we see lacking in our community, right? And those really aren't the best ways to make an investment as big as this. Because at the end of the day, it's not a hobby. It's got to make you money, right? If it requires skills that you don't feel confident using every day, it's going to feel like the heaviest weight on your back, right? It's got to align with the owner that you want to be, the time commitment you want to put in. And if it happens to be in something that on top of all of that is a passion, awesome. But on the flip side, I'll tell you the reason I got out of the gym business, because that's the business I broke off and went into, was because I started to hate the gym. Because you know what? When I was making money, it was amazing. But when it was hard, and now I didn't want to be in the gym for my own health reasons. And I found like my desire to work out and all of that was just so lacking. I knew I had to make a change and keep my hobby and make my business. And I was again blessed to find this role, which I look at like personal training, right? Like I'm coaching people through a process that changes their life. And that just makes me happy. So, and that kind of gives some deeper insight, if not like psychology, to the matching process is so much more than like, a widget or one skill set. It's about a culture, it's about your values and goals, it's about the financial opportunity you aspire to. The last thing I'll say is there are even franchisors out there that are looking for like a husband and wife team that are retiring from big corporate jobs, and they don't want to just go play golf every day. They want something meaningful to do, but not a lot. And maybe they don't want to have a team of people that they have to employ. So there are cultures that really thrive on that husband and wife. And then there are, on the other extreme, there are franchises that are looking for an empire builder. They are looking for people that are aggressive, that want fast growth, that know how to manage and lead teams of people, because we need you on it, not in it. And we're going to drive you to that $1 million business in your first 12 months. And their earnings claim will show that average first year revenue 1.8 million, right? Like that is not a small business, right? That is a business that took off from go. But that requires a certain mindset, skill set, and financial capability. So it's all of these things that go into the matching process, so much more than what people think at the surface level.
Love it. Makes perfect sense. Well, Kim, thank you so much for coming back on. Where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you?
Thank you, George. It's been my pleasure. My YouTube channel is like the greatest adaptation from 2020, right? 2020 was a year of either adapt or die as a business owner. So I turned that camera around from my live events and started creating content on kimdaly.tv. There's over 400 videos up there today. It's now being spun off into a podcast that you can find on Spotify and Apple. So please go to Kim Daly TV, kimdaly.tv. You can find all of my content there, all of my contact information. Enjoy my quirky sense of humor, having fun trying to teach people about the subject I'm so passionate about, exploring franchise opportunities.
Love it. If you enjoyed as much as I did, show Kim your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to kimdaly.tv. That's KIMDALY.tv and check out some or all of those 400 Just go ahead and binge watch all 400 videos. Check out the podcast on, I think you said Spotify. And I know that she is open to getting in touch with somebody. If you are thinking about franchising, reach out and start that exploration process and find out if it is a good fit for you and what you are trying to accomplish. Thanks again, Kim.
Thank you.
And until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.